When our little boy came into this world, the last thing my husband and I were thinking about was that in just over 6 months he would be dead. Our little man had breathing problems when he was born. They put him straight into the incubator for 48 hours. That was hard to watch. The terror you feel as a new parent is unmatched in those moments of staring your child's death in the face. You have had this little alien growing inside you for so long. You are its sole life force, and now you stare at it, wondering if it was all for nothing. We finally brought him home from the hospital, pink and ready to give us hell for the next 18 years. Probably longer. I so wished for longer. Around 6 months later, there was a night where I just felt off. Like something was wrong in our home's air. Mother's intuition, I suppose. I wish I had followed my gut, but I was just so tired. I went to sleep that night and was not waking for anything or anyone. Other parents will know how horrible and real sleep deprivation is. There is a reason that it's used as an effective torture method. You will do anything, spill all the world's secrets just for a little bit of sleep. We had finally put our boy in another room around a week before this particular night, primarily because my husband snores like an elephant. It was so disruptive to the point that the dog began sleeping in the living room. It was the first night I slept completely through in weeks. When I woke up that morning, I rolled over and felt rejuvenated in my mind, but my body felt tense. I felt that off feeling again and checked my phone. It was well past the time my son would normally wake. I checked the monitor and my stomach dropped into an endless pit. The feeling when you're on a roller coaster about to slam back into earth. He was lying face down, not moving. My heart rate rose like it was pumping on pure jet fuel. I don't exactly remember what happened next, just snippets, fractures in time. I remember looking at the door to his room and hovering over the handle. I remember standing barefoot on his rug that I had slept on many nights before. I then found myself sitting on the rocking chair in the corner of his room, milk streaming out of me as I put his blue lips up to my warm skin. I rocked and swayed and whispered, "Wake up, baby. Come on now, Bubba. Wake up, please." But he never did. At this point, I must have screamed because my husband ran in. Thinking back, I feel sorry for him having to be exposed to the scene, and also angry at him all at the same time. The last thing I remember was the paramedics trying to gently pry him from my hands. I put in a fight, my nails dug deep into his sleep sack, and I snarled like some rabid animal. The next few weeks were also a bit of a blur. We found out the cause: SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. He rolled himself over in the middle of the night, and I was too sleep deprived to notice him suffocating in the bedsheet. I didn't know they made child-sized coffins. That was a shock. Well, I guess I did, but I never had thought about it. It was so small, so delicate. They lowered it into the hole, and that was the end of my life as I knew it. There was no redeeming, no coming to terms, no coming out of this hole. No reason to anymore. My husband and I were not strong enough to begin with, and the fights after this were so intense that it led to his insisting that I go to a support group for other mothers who had gone through something similar. After a while of him insisting, he demanded with a divorce threat attached. I finally agreed. I knew I needed some help. I wasn't like one of these people in denial. I knew what happened and that it was my fault. The support group was filled mostly with other grieving mothers whose kids had succumbed to cancer. Another lady had her son pass in a car crash, his body so mangled that they wouldn't even let her see him. Mine seemed like the most peaceful, which made me feel sick that others had it worse, even though my insides were rotting. I didn't say much. I sat there listening mostly. But out of respect, I did share my name and briefly what happened. mentioning what I remembered anyway, the reason he was in there in the first place, the blue lips covered in breast milk, the paramedics. The others looked at me like mine wasn't raw enough, horrific enough. I felt it too. Except for one older lady, she looked genuinely gutted for me. It felt nice. Once it finished and everyone started to disperse, I made my way to a little table with assorted sandwiches and cheap coffee. I stared at it for a long time. Probably not a good idea for them to have strawberry jam seeping out of the open bread like a mini crime scene. A hand grabbed onto my shoulder and I spun around in fright. And that's when I met her. Marla. She would have been in her late 40s, maybe early 50s. You could tell just by looking at her that she has had a hard life. She has seen things behind those eyes. Real, haunting pain. She smiled at me like she had a deep understanding of what I was going through, and I started crying immediately. It was bizarre. I didn't understand it. And she pulled me in for a hug like an old friend I haven't seen in years. We stayed like that for far too long, but I didn't want to let go. There was something about her, some sort of energy radiating from inside that made everything feel like it was going to be okay. We went for a walk together after along the street and into the park. We sat on a bench and watched some other kids playing in the playground. After sitting there in silence for a while, she said, "I know what happened, you know." I looked at her, a little taken aback. "Sorry. I know that you're beating yourself up over this, but it's not your fault. I know that, and I think you do too." I sat back and looked forward, lip quivering, and let her continue. "I know your husband is to blame for this tragedy. I know that's harsh, but I'm just being honest." I stood up and went to walk off, wiping away a tear, but then she said something that stopped me in my tracks. "There is a way for your little boy to come back, you know." I slowly turned around, ready to go off on this lady. She stood and put her hands up in mock surrender. I think she could see the fire behind my eyes. She quickly added, "Please believe me, there are ways. We have done it before, we have done it and successfully too. Please let me help you." I put my head in my hands and continued my breakdown. "Why are you doing this to me? You're sick," I screamed at her. She rushed up and grabbed me tight. I was shocked, confused, everything all at once. I grabbed her and squeezed aggressively. "Why are you doing this to me? Who are you?" She hugged me tightly like a wall slowly crushing me, but it somehow calmed me. She whispered into my ear, "I know you don't know me, but it will only work if you trust me. Do you trust me? You need to be 100% on board." I pulled away slowly and looked her up and down. She was smartly dressed, like she had just come from the local country club, not some cauldron-stirring witch. And weirdly, I did trust her. I really did think she was telling the truth. The truth as she knew it anyway. We walked some distance together while she explained the process to me. She would need something of my boy's, his favorite cuddly a piece of clothing, anything that would still have a bit of him left on it. She would take this for a few days. Then at the next women's group meeting, she would give this back to me, and I was to put it into the basement and lock the door until she gave me the next step. I did everything she asked. Once she returned the stuffed lamb he slept with, it went into the basement. I didn't tell my husband. What would I say? I didn't tell anyone about this. I didn't question it myself. In my mind, it was harmless. If it worked, by some miracle I would get my baby boy back. And if this lady was crazy, which I suspected almost certainly had to be the case, then I wasn't losing anything, was I? A few nights passed and nothing happened, and I thought I had been duped. I felt like an idiot. Until I heard a noise coming from the basement. I was sleeping this night and awoke to a chill in the air. It was as if my husband, now sleeping permanently in the guest bedroom, had blasted the AC just to torture me some more. I got up to turn it off and heard an odd noise. It was coming from the basement. The noise was like a newborn crying into a pillow, muffled and faint. With my phone light out, I slowly made my way past the aircon panel, which was turned off, then headed toward the basement door. I was shaking and trying my best to steady my breathing. The floorboards squeaked below me and the crying stopped. I gently put my ear up to the cold door and went to open it when my husband grabbed my shoulder. "Jesus!" I yelled at him as I jumped around, grabbing my chest. He looked at me like I was a runaway mental patient. For the first time, I saw true worry behind his eyes. He wrapped his arms around his body, hugging himself warm. "What the hell have you got the aircon on for?" "I didn't put it on, I thought you did to piss me off," I joked. But he did not see it as funny. He shook his head and walked off, huffing and puffing. "You seriously need help, woman, honestly. I don't know what to do anymore." I went to walk after him to plead my case and argue as always, but I felt like my feet were stuck. I let him go. Instead, I called Marla and whispered, letting her know what was happening, hoping she could make some light of this. I could feel her smiling on the other end of the line, pure happiness in each word. "Oh, this is just such great news, hun. Now you feed it." The words were there but wouldn't come out, only fragments. It? Sorry, I misspoke. You feed him, your baby boy. Oh, this is just so wonderful. Hold up, what do you mean, what is down there? I asked, looking at the door. Just follow my rules. Do not, under any circumstances, open the door until I tell you to. You understand that, right? Lock it and hide the key so your husband doesn't go in there. This is very important. I had forgotten about this crucial part. Yes, of course, I lied. Good. Now you need to listen to that noise. Your milk will begin coming back in shortly, it's nature. Do not fight it, pump and put it in a Ziploc bag, slide it under the door 4 to 5 times a day. Let him guide you with his noises. Let me know when there are any more occurrences. What do you mean? What will happen? How will he get into the bag? There were far too many questions and unknowns. He will know what to do, don't worry. As for the occurrences, you will know when it happens. I am so happy for you, hon. Get some sleep. This is going to be an exhausting but beautiful journey ahead. The line went dead. She was right. The next day, I woke with a sharp pain in my breast, like someone was stabbing me slowly with a butcher's knife. I looked down and my shirt was drenched from the milk seeping out. My breasts were rock hard. During the night, my body must have responded to the faint cries. It was incredibly painful to touch. It happened far quicker than last time. My husband never questioned anything during the next week. I was pumping in the bathroom, door locked and with the shower on, wanting to scream at the pain I was experiencing. I don't know what my husband thought during this time, but he began staying even later at the office. We needed the money. And eventually he began sleeping a few nights at his parents' house. He said it was closer to the office, which it was, but I could see what was happening. I didn't care. This just gave me more of a chance to express in comfort. I was well aware of how crazy this all sounded, but the crying, it sounded just like his perfect little cry. It was his cry, even my body knew it. My husband packed up and left around a month later. I didn't blame him. By this point, I had gone a little nuts. I remodeled the baby's room and got it back looking like a newborn was about to occupy it. I bought new clothes and replaced some of the toys we gave away. I gave in and told him about what I was doing. There was no hiding it anymore. He packed his bag so fast that I don't think he really packed anything he needed. He was moving back full-time with his parents while he sorted out what he wanted to do. How he looked at me was so horrible, like I was disgusting. His eyes told me that he didn't know me anymore. I was doing this for him as well as myself. He was going to get our baby back too. Why wouldn't he support me through this? It was for us to be whole again. He said that he couldn't hear the cries, but he just wasn't listening hard enough. They were there, but he just blanked them out because he was determined to move on. At one point, I even began doubting it all. I thought I was going crazy, but one day my doubts were crushed. And from then on, I knew I was sane. I went to put some fresh milk under the door and found a single tooth. A little milk tooth. It was his, so small and sweet. I put it into its own little box. I was so excited I couldn't sleep. So I sat by the door all night just listening, sometimes singing lullabies. The stretching noises, the sweet cries and coos. I just wish I could open the door and go down there, cuddle him, and let it all be okay. The last call I had with Marla was just before the neighbor's kid went missing. She let me know that it was almost time. My baby was almost ready to come back to us, to this crazy world. There was just one more thing that needed to happen. A life for a life. He needed a body to come back into, a healthy vessel to occupy. I felt sick. I wanted to hang up. I wanted to kill her for putting me through all of this, without telling me this final horrific step first. I wanted to, but I couldn't. I didn't. I asked for more specifics. Maybe there was a workaround. My thoughts went dark, like, how long does a body last embalmed in a coffin? I could dig him up. She said it would only work with a live child. You wouldn't want your kid to look like they had been in a coffin for months, bugs eating holes in the skin now, would you? She said. I almost spewed at the image in my mind. It made sense, but I also know what it feels like to lose your child. Surely I couldn't do that to another family, to another mother. I declined, and then she said something that chilled me to my core. Once the process has begun, there is no stopping it. You must finish, or what you create will be something you will regret for the rest of your life. I hung the phone up. I made my way back to my room, unsure about my future with this experiment. Then I started to hear scratching sounds coming from outside the basement door. He must have grown his little fingernails, which struck me as odd. It should not happen at this age. Not one's big enough to scratch the door like a manic cat. I locked myself in my room, but could still hear the faint scratching noises all night. Then the crying began, and so did the milk. She was right, there was no stopping this. And today, coming home from the grocery store where I bought some more supplies, diapers and the like, I saw the police consoling and comforting the neighbors. My stomach dropped. Seeing her face transported me back to the morning I found my boy face first. I was about to vomit on my front steps and ran into the house, hoping to God they didn't see me. I slowly walked over to the basement door and sat against it. I could hear a faint breathing, and then the cries started right on cue. I started pumping, mechanical and numb, milk hissing into the bottle. I sat there with no expression. It's where I am currently sitting now, still pumping, still waiting, still writing my story, still holding out to hold my boy again. The smell of roasting meat wafted from the kitchen and Marla came into the doorway. "Don't worry about them," she said. "I will help them get their boy back, in good time. For now, just keep feeding him, you are doing amazing." Something thumped against the door behind me. Not a knock, more like a little skull testing the wood. Little fingers pushed through the gap near the floor. They were cold, slick, nails black with dirt. "Soon," Marla murmured, stirring her pot. "Your beautiful boy will be free. This one's growing faster than the last." Marla had started to hum a nursery rhyme, and he began humming it back from behind the door. I had not heard that one before. It's like it was something meant just for us. I smiled and leaned my head against the door, grabbing his fingers and whispering, "See you soon, my beautiful baby boy." The fingers curled tighter around mine and didn't let go.